Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Tuesday. No, I was about to say October. It is November the 4th, 2025. And still very soggy this morning. It's been raining all night. It's going to be a coolish day, sort of 12 to 13 degrees. And yeah, we've got a bit of a break in proceedings as far as the rain goes, which is why we're out and about. But it's a bit slushy. Neil likes to be in the grass and on the footpath, well, not the footpath, the part back from the footpath, the grass, and they're very soggy and wet at the moment are my feet. So we'll be right though. There's bigger problems in life, isn't there? On this day, let's get into it. Well, thanks again everyone for starters. Last night we had really good numbers for talking boxing. Always good chatter. Seems to be more and more people commenting in the chat, so I really appreciate that. And if you do watch and you're not quite comfortable making a comment, then don't be shy. Make sure you bring up a question or a topic or whatever, because it's a really good little community we've got on a Monday night, and everyone's very respectful, and yeah, there's always a few little differences of opinion, but at least everyone does it respectfully, and I really enjoy doing it on a Monday night, and it's amazing how quick the 2 hours actually go. So thanks again. All right, so on this day, and we start off back in 1985, not a great day in boxing history, because it's actually the day that Customato, the legendary trainer of Mike Tyson, also Floyd Patterson, Jose Torres as well, and just a legend or icon of the sport, passed away today in Catskill, New York. So sad day. And it was only, I'm assuming this is why Mike Tyson did a tribute day a couple of days ago over the weekend. They did I think I commented on this on one of these episodes that he did a tribute day to Customato. So I'm assuming it's because he passed away around this time. So that is Customato. Also on this day, 1988. Now I actually remember this fight card like it was yesterday. I went down to the pub to watch it. It was on Sky Channel, and it was Thomas the Hitman Hearns. He was coming back from that knockout loss to Iran the Blade Barkley, I think in June, and I can't remember who he was supposed to fight, but it was he pulled out, and James the Heat Kinchin stepped in, and they actually made this fight for the inaugural WBO belt. This is the first ever WBO world title fight, and it was probably looked at as like something like an IBO or a WBU or WBF or one of those types of belts at the time. It was thought to be a Mickey Mouse belt. No one would care. It wouldn't last. It was just a made-up belt for the fight, and look, here we are. 37 years later, and it's still going strong, arguably. But he fought James the Heat Kinchin, who was just a bit of a contender. He was a real, he was highly ranked at one stage, James Kinchin. Was one of the most best up-and-coming young middleweights out there, but I think he lost to, actually might have been Barkley as well, I think, from memory. I can't remember, but he lost a fight and sort of slipped down a bit and jumped in as a late replacement and showed that he could still fight, because he gave Thomas Hearns all he could handle for 12 rounds. Thomas Hearns won the title on points, but I think it was the 8th round from memory where he was in a lot of trouble, and Kinchin just couldn't get him out of there, and Thomas Hearns ended up outboxing him to win a 12-round decision. On the undercard, there's a couple of really good fights. Michael Nunn stopped one Roldan in I think it was the 8th round. Yep. So I think the year before is when Hearns had actually knocked Roldan out to win the vacant WBC middleweight title. Michael Nunn was the up-and-coming, well, not necessarily up-and-coming because he had the IBF belt, but he was going to be the next superstar. Michael's second to none, and he stopped one Roldan with a really impressive performance back then, and a really awkward type of guy was Michael Nunn. Southpaw, not a big puncher, although he did knock out Sambu Kalambe with a big left hand to unify the middleweight title. But with Roldan, he just sort of wore him down, stopped him in the 8th round. Really good performance. But on the undercard, I was shattered, because one of my favourite fighters is a Canadian, Matthew Hilton. Now, if you're around my vintage, you'll remember Matthew Hilton. If you're not, if you're a little bit younger than what I am, you probably won't remember him, because he was sort of he come and went very, very quickly. He was a real brute, real tough young guy, loved a left rip to the head and body, really good young fighter. And he ran into a fighter named Robert Hines, who just simply got past the early rounds onslaught. I think he was decked a couple of times early and looked like he was gone. Hilton sort of had him, and he just hung in there and ended up wearing Hilton down and winning a 12-round decision. I think he ended up losing it to Darren Van Horn after that, Robert Hines. But I was really upset because Matthew Hilton was one of my favourite fighters, part of the famous Hilton brothers from, I'm pretty sure it was from, I'm not sure it was Montreal, but from Canada anyway. But really tough young guy he was. And I used to wear the tartan trunks, so that was Matthew Hilton. So I was really upset by that. But that was on this day on the one card at the Las Vegas Hilton. Also on this day, 1985, Riddick Big Daddy Bo stopped Evander Holyfield in 8 rounds for the World Heavyweight Championship. 1995, Philip Holliday retained the IBF lightweight title with a 12-round decision over Rocky Martinez. That was actually in Sun City, South Africa, that fight. A couple more on this day. 1995 as well, Marco Antonio Barrera knocked out Eddie Croft in the 7th round. 2000, Shane Mosley stopped Antonio Diaz in the 6th round for the World Welterweight Championship in New York City. What else have we got here? Shannon Briggs knocked out Sergey Lerkovich in 12 rounds in 2006 in Phoenix, Arizona. 2006, Floyd Mayweather with a 12-round decision over Carlos Baldomir for the World Welterweight title. And I think that was about it. Yes, that's sort of the ones of note anyway. I could be here forever. Lots of fights happened on this day. So that was back in boxing history in the annals of our great sport all those years ago. All right, on to today's news. And the Phoenix has risen, or is about to rise, hopefully. Tim Tszyu has a new nickname. He is Tim the Phoenix Tszyu. Now, we had a little bit of discussion about this last night on Talking Boxing about an appropriate nickname for Tim Tszyu. Didn't really go down well. I think a lot of people were in agreement that the Soul Taker wasn't really a great nickname. I don't think many people were overly impressed with that. I never sort of saw it as a nickname as such, and apparently it was bestowed on him by Ben Damon. I'm not sure whether that's for real or not, but I never really saw it as his like official nickname. I thought it was almost like just a term of endearment by just the boxing fraternity, I suppose, to say that Tim Tszyu is the Soul Taker. You know, he takes souls. But I never thought it was actually Tim the Soul Taker Tszyu. So, but he's got the new nickname, the Phoenix, and I think it's all about him rising from the ashes, as he said. I think he said on his social media post, you know, he's been written off and all this sort of stuff, but like a Phoenix, he will rise. And look, I would probably prefer to see it almost like a bit of a mantra for Tim Tszyu and you know, rather than an actual nickname. I'm not sure whether it fits, but hey, it's a free world. He can do what he wants. There was some, my nickname, we're all having a bit of a joke about it, of course. Let me just get through here. Oh, wet leaves everywhere. That's great. I thought Tim, the petting Tszyu, would be pretty good. Someone else had the tiger. Someone else had the animal Tszyu. I mean, it's not a bad one, is it? Tim, the animal Tszyu. But all jokes aside, I'm just glad that he's back. By his social media post, he means business, and I think that's awesome. And really looking forward to seeing him get back. Now, there was also talk about whether he will actually be back on December 17. A couple of people sort of raised the point or the question about whether it is too early. I don't think so. I think it looks like he's gelled pretty well with his trainer, and maybe they will use the fight as an opportunity to work on what they've been doing in training camp. Maybe rather than spend 6 months together, stepping puddles everywhere here, rather than spending like 6 months together and then coming back and expecting it all to happen at once, I think what they're going to probably try and do is firstly try and get Tim Tszyu just back into the ring. You know, it's like, I suppose, a surfer that's been, you know, that's probably had a shark encounter or something like that. If you don't go straight back in, you're never going to go back in. So I've got a feeling the advice would be, hey, we've just got to get him back. And yes, he might not be 100% over everything that Pedro Diaz has been working with him on. It might be a matter of saying, let's just get him in there. We'll just get him an opponent that suits the occasion, if you get where I'm coming from, and we can kill two birds with one stone. We can get him in there so he feels good, he's back, he gets people talking about him again, gets the juices flowing and gets the media and everyone talking about Tszyu again, and then at the same time we can have this guy who's not going to be a threat at all, and we can work on a few things that Pedro Diaz has implemented, because I think the perception of a lot of fans out there is that when Tszyu comes back from this work with Pedro Diaz, that he's just going to go in and just magically be this different fighter, and it just doesn't happen that way. It's a slow process. So that's why I think if they waited until everything was in place and they were comfortable with everything, it might be a year out of the ring. So obviously he doesn't want to do that. So I've just got a feeling they're going to get him in with an opponent that suits the occasion and let Tim do his thing without any threat in return, and he can actually practice a few of maybe the early things that they've been working on. And who knows, it might not be a lot. I mean, we've all been critical. Well, a lot of people have been critical of Tim in a lot of different ways, and I have as well, in certain parts of his style. But maybe Pedro Diaz has just picked 2 or 3 basic things that he needs to improve, and it's not reinventing the wheel, it's just tweaking a few different things, and he'll make him a lot better fighter. Because you've got to remember, Tszyu is 30 years old. It's not like this, even someone like Pedro Diaz can change everything, can just snap his fingers and make him a better fighter. It takes a long time, and that's why I think that's the reason why they're getting him in straight away. And you see a lot of the stuff they've been doing on the training sort of circuit with I think he's doing sprints up hills and with the weights and doing power punches. So it looks like more than anything, I'm sure they're doing stuff in the gym as well, but it looks more than anything he's trying to just maybe change the physical part of Tszyu for starters. Maybe just trying to make him, maybe it's a bigger puncher, maybe it's more solid in the legs, maybe just tweak a few things like that. And as I said, I've got no doubt that in the gym they'll be doing some technique stuff, but it looks like they're working on a few different things where it's not all about the reflexes and all that sort of stuff that he always seemed to be working on previously. It's about solid, hard, physical conditioning sort of work, and just changing even just the mindset of Tim to be more able to get down in the trenches and be able to go with some of the guys he's going to have to get in there with. So look, I think it's fascinating, and really looking forward to seeing Tim come back. I just get the impression, just even by his social media post, now I don't even know whether he posted it himself or maybe Darcy Ellis has done it for him, but either way, it was a really good post, and I think it generated a lot of energy from the post, if that makes sense. I thought the graphic was really good, and I thought what the post said was really good, and I think it really sets the stage. One thing that did surprise me, though, if I'm being honest, is the feedback from fans that were actually commenting on the post. And geez, it's been well, I don't know whether it's or it is a sign of the times, I suppose, but it's staggered me that how much of if you want to call it a fall from grace, it's been as far as Tim's perception to the fans. Now, a year and a half ago, Tim couldn't do a thing wrong. He was the absolute golden boy of Australian boxing, and it's amazing that in this short time, you used to see the comments on the posts were all positive for Tim. Might be one sneak in there, but all the time, you might as well say 98% of the comments were really positive towards Tim, and complimentary and encouraging and supportive. And I reckon yesterday, looking at the post, I reckon probably 75% of the comments were negative, which is really surprising. Well, it's not surprising, is it, in this day and age, because people are looking for any excuse to rip others down. But I won't lie and say it's disappointing to see that the Australian public have sort of turned. But then again, we're a pretty hard bunch to please over here, so maybe he needs to get back on the winners list, and then maybe people's perception will change. But it really just surprised me. I know I've commented on this in the past, different posts of different people, but it just again surprised me when it comes to Tszyu, who hasn't been able to put a foot wrong for so long, that a lot of people just not having it, and really commenting on and pretty harsh comments, really. And a lot of Michael Zarafa supporters in there having a dig as well. So I'm sure that if he gets a couple of wins under his belt, it will change. But yeah, very, very surprising. But that is Tszyu back, hopefully on December 17. But even if it's not December 17, the fact that he's looking, geez, that was a bloody magpie swooping me then. the return is imminent, and that is the main thing, and really looking forward to that. Now, another thing with the Australian scene, I read yesterday, and it concerned Jai Opetaia, but the comment was, or the quote was from Eric Gomez, head of, or one of the head guys at Golden Boy Promotions, who looks after Zurdo Ramirez, and the headline was Ramirez and David Benavides looking to sign a fight to fight next. I was like, hey, hang on, where's our man Jai Opetaia? Then the caveat was below, both camps are in talks, it says, by the way, not just talking to the media, are in talks about fighting next. But it did say, however, both have to get past the next fights. And the interesting thing was, it was Benavides against Yard, but it said that Zurdo has to get past Jai Opetaia first. Now, of course, that hasn't gotten past or gotten to any sort of point yet where it's anywhere near being negotiated or announced. So it just said that he just has to get past Jai Opetaia. David Benavides has to get past Yard, and then they're going to fight next. Like it was almost a done deal, like as far as beating Jai Opetaia. That's the way it read, and I thought, is this the way that Jai is actually perceived by a lot of the overseas journalists and fans and people in the industry, in that they're talking about a 2026 fight. They've just got to get past these next fights first, and then they're going to fight each other. Now, that's sort of sacrilege to us over here in Australia, because I think we see Jai Opetaia as easily the best, well, I won't say easily, but the best cruiserweight in the world. I'm just interested, just based on those comments, of whether Jai overseas has the same standing. I'm sure he does. It was just a one-off, but I couldn't believe just the way that Eric Gomez spoke, in that it was just, yeah, just this guy from Australia, Jai Opetaia. He's just got to get past him, and Benavides has got to get through Yard, and then we're going to have those two square off against each other. I think he could be in a bit of a surprise, Zurdo Ramirez, and it could have probably explained too, by the way, why things have sort of been held up a little bit lately, as far as the two getting together. Of course, there was the Oscar De La Hoya quote that he wanted $8 million US to fight Jai, which is never going to happen. But then I suppose that in effect also contradicts what Eric Gomez is saying as well, about they're going to fight next. So anyway, good news, of course, is that they're actually speaking about Zurdo fighting Jai. That's probably the main good thing to come out of it, but not good news in that he's just been sort of discarded so easily. But let's just say that I think Ramirez and Golden Boy and everyone else who speaks negatively about Jai are going to be very surprised when they do get in the ring. What else have we got? DAZN, the last thing. DAZN, apparently there will be a fight pass, and rather than having, this is interesting. I mean, because Turki Al-Sheikh could almost come out and say that I wasn't lying, because of course he said there was going to be no more pay-per-views, and it would be all inclusive and all this sort of stuff. And then of course we've got pay-per-views coming up. What they're doing though is they're going to charge a yearly fee, and it at this stage includes all the fights, so all the pay-per-views. So I think they did 15 events this year, I think they said. So what they're saying is that it might cost you $600, $700, $800 a year, and you get all the fights, and there's no pay-per-views. It's all inclusive. Now, the big question I have is that this is the way DAZN started out in the first place. Yeah, just pay a monthly fee, and that's all inclusive. There will be no pay-per-views and that sort of stuff. It's all just inclusive. And then what happens? We're paying our monthly subscription, and then we're paying $30, $40, $50, $60 for the pay-per-view events after that. So what happens with this one? Do they say, all right, you pay your $600, $700, $800 a year, which supposedly includes all pay-per-views. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket, which does, I suppose, give Turki Al-Sheikh the option to say that, well, I told you there's no pay-per-views. It's just all one inclusive price. Technically, he's right, but what happens with this yearly fee that they charge? Then they get an absolute super fight, and they say, yeah, but it's just going to be on top of your yearly fight pass as well. So who knows? Maybe we get. I'm just thinking of the recent example of Canelo and Crawford. I know that's on Netflix. I'm just using the example of the fight itself, a fight of that magnitude. And they say, yeah, but this is just going to be on top of that. This is a pretty big fight. This is a really big fight. So we're going to just have to charge a little bit extra for this one because of the magnitude of the fight. And then all of a sudden it might be 20, 30 bucks and it's 40 or 50. And then all of a sudden you've got your yearly fight pass and then you're still paying pay-per-views. I just don't trust any of these people. Remember, they're in business to make money. And with all the subscriptions out there at the moment, as far as having to have Netflix and Amazon Prime and Paramount and all these types of different platforms, and DAZN, of course, how much is enough that people can afford to pay for all these apps and these fights and pay-per-views? And here in Australia, we've got Stan and Main Event and all that as well. So, yeah, I don't know where we go, but I've just got a feeling. One is that Turki Al-Sheikh sort of scooted around the back as far as this, and by saying, well, I told you there's no pay-per-views, and it's not going to be pay-per-views. It's all going to be inclusive. The problem is that the inclusive price is now about 10 times what it was beforehand. So, and then as I said, you can just see that down the track it'll be, yeah, that's your normal yearly fight pass, but this is a pretty big fight. So we'll just have to slug you a little bit extra for this one, and how far does it go? The problem is they know that a lot of boxing fans will actually pay it. But then again, also illegal streaming has never been higher as well, and it probably just encourages that even more, doesn't it? So we'll see what plays out there. There's no exact amount that's been banded around at the moment, but I think the article I read was could be sort of $600, $700, $800 a year, which is still a lot of money for people to pay. So we'll see what happens in that. But having said that, guys, I'm just getting home at the moment. Jump in the car and head to work today. So I hope you have an awesome Tuesday. Give me your thoughts, and we'll catch you tomorrow.